Here we go. Sometimes. I always have trouble with this. View. Slideshow. There we go. Okay. Okay. Thank y'all for coming. It's 9 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I am Julia Carty. I am a Diamond. Most likely you're Diamond Upline if you're listening to this, and I'm here with Lindsay Russell. She is so dedicated, y'all. I have to point out, she's in Birmingham with her little ones, cooped up, it looks like, in a laundromat. I mean, she could have used so many excuses tonight saying, I'm in Birmingham with my family, I'm at a hotel, but she goes and finds a quiet place to be here with y'all. Honestly, that's why she's Diamond. So, you know, I know this is a really busy season for everyone, so thank y'all for just taking the time to be on here. You know, we want to be smart with our time, and we want to respect your time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We will have questions at the end, so if you have any questions, jot that down. I will say, you know, with this is definitely, I want to give Lindsay as much credit as she is due, because this is kind of her little brainchild, and then I just kind of come in here and, I don't know, she bounces her ideas. We work a lot together. So I will say, find you a partner, find you a good friend that you can work this business with. It's a lot more fun, it's easier, and it's more rewarding that way. So find a buddy and, you know, start making your, you know, making your trainings for your teams, or, you know, even if you're not there yet, you know, just keep each other accountable. But so that's kind of what Lindsay and I are with each other. You know, we keep each other accountable. We're kind of what we call power partners. So Lindsay, kind of explain to us how you got this idea of leadership basics, or the steps of leadership.
Okay. This is really fun. Like, the more Julie and I talked about it, the more excited I got, because I'm like, oh, I don't know if y'all have this book, but it's become my new, like, it's in my purse all the time, and I just get so many great ideas from it. So, but okay, so in my small group at my church, Chad and I, my husband, we're doing a parenting small group, and one of the lessons broke down like the stages of parenting. And for those of you that don't know me, I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-month-old. So it kind of broke it down in the stages of life. And, you know, we probably all have like parents or just older people that say, oh, it just gets harder. It just gets harder. Well, this this small group, this particular lesson turned just kind of a mind shift, because I was like, it doesn't really have to get harder. If you put so much emphasis and really pour into them in those early years, it typically should probably get a little bit easier. Now, I know different situations come up. I know that. But the basics was start with a strong foundation. And it broke it down into 3 stages of parenting. So the first was like, you know, birth to age 5. That's the part of when you're really like kind of keeping your thumb on it. You're disciplined. You're getting in the habit of, you know, obeying the first time, and respect and honor and things like that. Really, really hard for those first few years. And then you go more into training. Like, this is why we do the things, and kind of training outside of, you know, like when they get in trouble type situations, you know, you're training outside of those things. And then finally, like the coaching, so like teenage years and above, where you're like mentoring your children really, and building that friendship then, because we all know like later is longer. So if you can really focus in on those key areas in the beginning, and get that strong foundation, the process is a lot more enjoyable, I guess. And so I was like, Julia, this makes so much sense in Plexus, because it's really based on this kind of 3 groups too. Like in the beginning, you're getting, you know, the consistency of 5-3-1, and you're doing those same things over and over and over again. It's kind of like riding the bike, and all of a sudden, you know, someday things just click. And then you're in the training process where you're training them to do certain things. And then eventually you're in that really, really great mentoring stage. And I was just like, this is a great idea. So I hope you guys like it.
Yeah. And I thought it was genius. So, you know, and she mentioned 5-3-1. That's not what we're going over tonight. This training is really the 3 stages of leadership. And we were going to do all 3 in one night. And then as we got to planning, we realized we would have you here for 3 hours. So we're going to split it up into 3 different. So tonight is Leadership Basics 101. This is the first stage. And, you know, really we started trying to think of what that is. And we kind of thought of 3 things. We wanted a 5-3-1 system. So if you don't know, if you're brand new, that's, you reach out to 5, you follow it with 3, you train 1. We all know 5-3-1. Well, we want you to know these 3 stages, just like you know that. And it's steps, culture, and potential. We feel like if you can really grasp those 3 things when you first start, leading your team. And let me just tell you, this stage, I'm in this stage with some of my newer ambassadors. So, it's kind of like being a parent. You have older kids, you have younger kids. You might be in a different stage with each kid. So as, just because you might be listening and you might be a Jewel already, or you might be Ruby, you still might be in the first stage of leadership with some of your team. So steps, culture, potential. Those are the 3 things. If we ever come up with something catchy, we're going to share it with y'all. Or if you can come up with something catchy for us to remember that, please do. We love acrostics, but we just couldn't figure one out for this. So I love this quote. Elrob kind of sent it to me, and I made a graphic because I like graphics. But it's people who develop systems that include action steps are almost always more successful than those that don't. And y'all, that's so true. Lindsay and I both have built our business with action steps. Now, everything else is great, but I feel like you have to have action steps. And so with each of these 3 points that we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to give you action steps, things that you can go and implement with your team, things you can duplicate, and things you can grow on or ask us questions to help you implement them. So anything to that, Elrob?
Just kind of piggybacking on what she said about like the 5-3-1 of leadership, this is kind of what our goal is. We want to make this where we explain, if you've been in Plexus, a month or 2, you probably know what 5-3-1 is, and you probably can explain it to someone pretty well. We want this to be like riding a bike. You do it so much that all these points are just like second nature to you. And really, if you're continuing to add level ones, it will be like second nature because you'll do it so much that it becomes your routine and habit. So we wanted something simple, duplicatable, and even like she said, we're trying to find a catchy little word so you'll know, hey, have you done your Basics 101 or whatever we're going to call this. So we're hoping this kind of, if you have 7 levels below you, they will still be able to do these things.
Okay, so we're going to dive in. The first thing is we said steps. And if you've been with us at all, I know we've had this for over a year, but our 7 steps for adding a new ambassador. And guys, every year, ending a new year or ending the year, I always start thinking, okay, should we change? What should we tweak? But, we love the saying, don't reinvent the wheel. Now, we definitely want to make things better. We're always thinking about, okay, how can I make this better? But not so much change it. But we really believe in these 7 steps, and we just see no reason to really change them. Now, with a few of them, we're going to go through each of them because we really want you to understand why we're doing this. And please, if you're looking at this and you're like, oh my goodness, I've seen this a billion times, I don't have time for this training, so hold on with us. We're going to kind of go a little deeper, and remember there's 2 more points after this. So we're going to start with the first one is send an email with starter files and directions. Go ahead, Elrob.
Right. Okay. Well, I have 2 emails that I send to people when I sign up my level 1s. I have one that's for wholesale ambassadors and one that's for people wanting to work the business. And to be honest, other than a few sentences of verbiage, they're basically the same. I know that my wholesale ambassadors are probably not going to dig into the file that I have sent on the compensation plan, that one packet that I have attached to it, but that's okay. Because the big picture, long-term down the road, they're going to see if they ever do start to work the business, they're going to look back and see what I did. And it's just part of, it's just part of my habit. Like I send this email to them, I send this email to them. So they have a couple of attachments, but they all have directions on how to take the products. They all have one little clip video on how to go silver, and then they have an attachment with my Dropbox files. Now, I will be honest with you, when Julia sent me an email, I did not dig in right away. But once I started wanting to work the business, I knew that to go back to. So, but if you have greens, they're probably going to want to dig into that. So we want to try to touch every single color through these steps. Just kind of like your children. Your children probably all have different love languages. Mine do. Mine are clearly different. So I'm trying to touch all of them. Does that make sense? So your email is really important. It's quick. It's something you can send. And I like to even send them a text or a Facebook message that says, hey, I'm going to send you an email. It's got a couple of files. It's got a couple of links. Let me know if you don't get it, because a lot of times my communication is not strictly email with my ambassadors. So I'm talking to them the natural way, but I know that it's kind of like just a professionalism. Like they're starting a business. Here's an email, to introductory, that kind of thing. And it's pretty streamlined, but you can still personalize it to where it's coming from you. But again, Julia's going to have these files where you can get this email and copy and paste it and have it in your folder ready to send to your newbies.
Right. And I have no way to put it in the comments here, but before we get off, I'm going to put it in the comments here, our Dropbox file with all of this information, and I'll also put it on our page in the comments. And I will encourage you, if you're leading your team, guys, don't just send them a Dropbox file. It might take, when you get that email that says your level 1, if I get an email that says Lindsay added someone, I would then copy that and email it to her and say, congratulations, you have a new ambassador. Here's what I send my new ambassadors. I don't know how that happens. But, make sure you're duplicating this down with your team, because I really can tell with my strongest legs what's being duplicated. So number 2, I don't know where the green circle came from. Sorry, guys. Number 2 is add and welcome to team pages. And, I was looking and I was like, what kind of quote could go with this? But a person who feels appreciated will always do more than expected. And you might be thinking, what does that have to do with adding our new team members to a page? But guys, I have heard over and over how welcomed and loved and part of the group people feel, because a lot of people are not expecting that. They're not expecting you to make a graphic with their pretty picture on it, or even if just put welcome to the best team ever and welcome them to the page. I will tell you, I can see again, my strongest legs add everyone to the team page, not just yours that want to work the business. Lindsay is a prime example of someone who was just a wholesale customer, guys, but I added her to my team page. I welcomed her. She probably could tell the story better, but she was nursing one night, went through the thing, I was looking through our page, caught the vision, and started working the business. She's my first diamond. So, you never know, they're going to get on that page and start looking around and think, oh my goodness, I can do this. I love these products. This business seems great. Look how, today when I did that, how much people made on their paycheck, that's going to catch people's attention. So put everyone on the team page. Now, the number 1 question I typically get is how many team pages? We do not want to overwhelm people. My rule of thumb is no more than 3, and that's for someone who wants to work the business. If I have just a wholesale customer, and I wouldn't use me as an example, if I was not a jewel, I would always say yours and then your closest jewels. You definitely want them on one jewel page, meaning someone that's emerald, sapphire, or diamonds. We can go all the way up to Celeste, which I'm Celeste level 4. So, if you're under me, that could be a lot of team pages. But then I gradually add people as they work the business or they need stuff. But you want to add them to these pages mainly so they can get into contests, they can get the information, and they can catch that vision. So make sure you're adding them and you're not overlooking your wholesale customers. Wholesale customers need to be at least on one team page. Anything?
I heard a training that Jen Hawkins did. I actually just heard it yesterday, but I love this little nugget that I took. She said when they first started, they didn't have welcome graphics, but they welcomed. They still welcome. So here we are. So I'm her level 7 levels, and we're still doing the bones of that. We've just, added to it, made it better. And I just loved hearing that, such a long time ago, they were still welcoming people, and we just added so much more to it. So I love to know that this really does work. And it's the blues too. To me, I think welcoming and the fun, the excitement, that really speaks to your blues. If you're thinking about the colors, that's a way to really speak to them.
So number 3.
Oh, okay, I love this one. Introduce them to their 3 uplines in a group message. So if I added a level 1, I'm going to have, let's just say her name is Susie. I'm going to add Susie, me, Julia, and Angie to a little Facebook message. And if you want to title it, welcome Susie to our team, or if you want to title, your group chat. What I love about this is so many things. One, it's an automatic way to get people connected in a small like intimate way. So like you have this big team page, and some people are really bold and want to answer questions right away or want to ask right away, but some people feel a little bit more comfortable in a smaller group environment. So I love introducing people and using words, instead of using words like upline, like this is my friend Julia. Like we were sorority sisters together. She's made it to the tippy top of this company. We have so much fun together. Kind of, just introduce them like you would at a party, not using verbiage like this is my, I don't know, just trying to be careful about those words because sometimes it makes it feel kind of stiff. So using the word friend, things like that in that message. And then this is something Julia and I have just talked about. Using that message,
Everybody, real quick, unmute yourself.
Okay, using that message, again, we're doing the basic bone things and then trying to make it better. I've really started using that message to train those people. Especially, I have a level 3 that just signed up, and she's like that, my level 2's first worker. And so we're really using that little chat message for them to train her. So she asks questions there. All of us can jump on. If someone's not quick and right away, if someone's in the car line at school and they can't answer or something, I can jump on and answer. What it's doing is it's training that person, the newbie, but it's also training my level 1 and 2 on how to train. So it's, 2 birds with 1 stone type thing. But so I really want to start explaining that to my team. This is something we've just kind of talked about, really using that instead of, my level 2 messaging her privately, which she still can. I think that's great. But really utilizing that for the first little while. 1, to make them feel really connected. 2, it's a place for me to train. And then for them to watch how I'm trained. So everybody's learning at the same time. And it's just community. Like it's a great place to feel connected. I get really uncomfortable sometimes when I'm reaching out to, like, say, a level 2 that has been working the business for a month and a half, and I want to reach out about her PV. So she's got great PV, but I've never been introduced to her before. So I think this is so important. And again, like Julia said, my teams that do this, they I can just see the fruit of it. They're more connected. They're more engaged typically. And they just have more resources to pull from. So I love this.
It's definitely one of my favorite steps, and one that I know not everyone does. And so that's really why we wanted to have this training for all of you, to really encourage you to do these steps. Number 4 is another one of my favorites. And again, sorry for you ADD people with this big green circle. I have no idea how it happens, but it's a 3-way call. And guys, this is probably the step I contemplated on maybe dropping for this year. But honestly, it's so wonderful because those people that do this, it builds that connection. So basically, it's just 3-way calls with new ambassadors. So if you get a new ambassador, and especially for all of you in the beginning stages of Plexus or your leadership, pulling in an upline, someone that's been in it longer than you, and just saying, hey, I'd love for you to chat with my friend Lindsay and me. She's, been in the business. She's very successful. We'd love to just get to know you and kind of know your goals. I say 20 minutes tops. And you need to tell them, you need to respect their time. You don't want to be on there, and I am a talker. I could be on there. I could do like hour-long 3-way calls. But, honestly, that's not making good use of any of our time. So that's why I kind of have this little graphic. And these are the 5 things I go over. I find out their why. And, and I make it conversationally. Like, I tell my story. I tell how I get into Plexus. I'm like, so what's your why? Then, what's your goal in Plexus? Now, if they tell me their goal is just to, get off their migraine medicine and lose 20 pounds, they really aren't interested in the business, then I'm probably going to skip over the list making and stuff. I'm probably going to tweak what we talk about. But if their goal is to make $500 or $1,000 a month, then I'm going to talk about the business. I'm always going to kind of sprinkle some of the business in there, because even if they don't verbalize it, their goal is a business, we know how, what a blessing this business can be. So basically, it's just me getting to know them being able to ask questions, just like that 3-way message. This is just a little step beyond. So I really encourage you with the new year, guys, blow your upline's phone up with three-way calls. This is something you can even go back and do, especially with the new year coming up, saying, I know you joined in September, but, have you gotten the time? I would love for you to chat with, Julia or Lindsay or whoever your upline is. And let us help you, just strengthen these relationships and help them feel more part of the team. Lindsay, do you have anything with the three-way call? Have you seen any successes?
I love these. And I will tell you, when we first started utilizing these, I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to get all these calls in? And there's sometimes, y'all, where if I add someone and I cannot get Julia, I'm still going to do it by myself, if that makes sense. So don't just, I can't get Julia on the phone, I'm not going to do it. No, you can have this conversation. But if you are, let's say that you have a week where you've added 4 or 5 and you're like, oh my goodness, I have all these people, do a small little Zoom. Combine them if you can. If you can't figure out 6 or 7 different phone time slots, have just something, say, hey, I just want to kind of go over these things. If you feel comfortable, a small group, I would probably say no more than 3 or 4. But what do you think, Julia? If you cannot fit all of that in 1 week and you have a ton of people wanting to work in business, I think something is better than nothing.
Oh, I agree. And, I kind of skipped over this. I, too, think the reason I have loved this is because sometimes we recruit family members or really close friends, and it's kind of hard to get in business mode with them. And I know that's how I've really utilized this with Ellen and Angie, is sometimes it's just easier to bring a third party in to say, okay, what is your why? Okay, well, this is how we work the business. This is, kind of giving them the ins and outs of the business. So that's another good reason to use these three-way calls, is if you're recruiting a lot of people really close to you. But I definitely think a group call, it will do just as good. So I love Zoom calls. I love being able to see people's face. So I prefer Zoom over calls any day. Again, this is just kind of the system. You can make it better, what fits you the best. Number 5, help with the first Facebook post.
Okay, so we all know the importance of posting and posting early on Facebook. I will remember, it's okay. I remember when I posted my very first post, the first message I got, this girl asked me, I had not got my products in, and she asked me, so how long have you been on these? And I was like, well, I just ordered mine this week and I'm so excited. Like, I remember that was my first message. But helping them get their post is so, so fun because they get that momentum right away. And there are tons of resources. In fact, we have a file that just says Facebook posting resources. That's tons of videos and examples already made for you in a file. But getting them posted, getting them excited, letting them see a little bit of the fruit and kind of getting some practice is so great. And helping them figure out, like showing them examples. Okay, if you click on hashtag #WhyIPlexus, you can see tons of people's examples. You can share the 10 o'clock testimonies on our team page. You can give them, I think on Julia's team page too, she has the first 20 posts, her first 20 posts to give examples of what posting could look like. And then probably my most helpful tip, I think, is giving them 5 to 10 Plexus people to follow, to get posting ideas from, showing them how to save a post, showing them how to use Buffer. I remember the first time Julia explained to me what Buffer was. I was like, oh, this is fabulous. So, because I had no clue. Most of your people probably don't have a clue either. Just little things that can help them. Because we all know once we start posting and we post consistently and we start sending them resources on how to make their posts better or how to, the tips of the time of how to post. I had no clue there was any kind of algorithm to posting times, that kind of stuff. So getting them doing that is such a great way to get them started and getting them some customers and getting that first paycheck.
And I would just also, to encourage your wholesale customers to post like one good time. I'm always like, hey, let your friends and family know you're even doing this. Now, I know some are very secretive, but I've had several who really were not going to work the business, but I kind of encourage them like, hey, take it. They're like, oh, my products are in. Okay, great. Why don't you take a picture of them and post it on Facebook and just tell everybody what you're doing, how excited you are. Like, that's not selling. That's just, so sometimes people just need a little nudge to get out there and you never know what's going to happen. So number 6 is send videos and articles to help get them started. And guys, this is probably one of the main things I still do every day. So I'm just going to give you an example of how my day, I won't tell you about my whole day, but kind of how I did this today. So I reached out to a friend who is a new ambassador, and she just started her products. And so we start talking about ProBio and how to go up and down. So then I sent her an article about die-off. You know, she's experienced a little bit of die-off. I talked to another friend, level 1, who is really trying to go gold. So I went to that Dropbox. I found not the entire how to go gold thing, but I found one training and said, hey, here's something for you to watch this week. So it's just sending people bits and pieces. Rob to me is amazing at this, and I probably learned my ways from her, just to kind of figure out where they're at and send them gradually videos and articles. Because like we said, we have this Dropbox and it's completely full of information. Most likely you're going to send them the Dropbox and you're never going to look at it. But you can use the Dropbox because we have it full of information. You can use our files, our, you know, all these calls that you're hearing. We have so many great calls right now with the whole, I think everybody has a Christmas theme. You know, start storing those on like a spreadsheet on your computer or something. Start, you know, keeping track with them. And that way, if somebody is struggling with closing the deal, and Ellen just did a closing the deal call, you can send it to her. So that's really how I use this. But, you know, of course, there's lots of getting started. You know, we have we have posts or trainings about how to, you know, to post on Facebook, really just whatever they need, just in small increments. I just remember this is almost like when we say when you're trying to recruit people, it's a conversation. Training them and leading them is a conversation. You kind of have to keep it going. You don't want to check in with them once a month and check them off a check sheet and say, okay, I checked in with them, we're gone. I can assure you, and I know this by experience, they will not be successful. You need to keep it going. I know you might not have a time for, you know, every week have a training with them, but you do have time to give them 3 minutes to throw them something for them to read or to watch. So something to this, Lindsay?
You know, something that I do, I have to be efficient with my time. And kind of like Joy talked about at the beginning with systems, this system has worked for me. I have in my notes section of my phone, just copy and pasted links to videos. I have one, and I have them kind of like organized, going silver, and I have 3 or 4 of my favorites. Going gold, 3 or 4 of my favorites. Candida, I like, you know, have little, sorry, I know that's not compliant, but just Provo 5 type product information. I have little videos about that. So they're easy for me to pull from. And then when I have a new favorite, I add it to the list. So that's something to utilize. Start finding your favorite ones and make a little, if you can't pull from your Dropbox quickly on your phone, use your notes section. And I'll say this one time, y'all know how I am about personal growth. I love it, but you cannot give what you don't have. So if you're not training yourself, you're not going to know what to send them. Like if you're not listening to these training calls and all these things, and you're not going to know what's going to work. And I will tell you, I'm just a learner. I love to learn. I love listening to trainings, and that I've used that to my advantage. That's something I'm really good at and strong at. So I pass that along. If I hear someone like Julia was talking about, the closing the deal, I know, okay, I know I can send this. I know I've heard this video. I can find this and copy and paste that to them. So if you are getting yourself fed, you can feed others. So training yourself first is still key in this, to know what to send them.
And our last step is one of my personal favorites, is have them attend a boot camp. So, Rob, share with us why that's so important.
Okay, I remember I probably sat in on at least a dozen boot camps in the beginning because I loved learning. I wanted to get one more nugget from everyone that I learned. Honestly, I still like to listen in on some of my leaders do theirs too because I love hearing their perspective. But these are so important because it kind of goes into greater detail what we talked about in the 3-way calls. We're kind of just getting a little tidbits. This boot camp takes those same points and really dives a little bit deeper. So you're going to see those people who are ready to really run with it. They're going to run with it after that boot camp, or even probably before the boot camp. But getting them in something that can give them more of a why and a juicier kind of explanation of all those things in the three-way call. And someone, I think, asked the questions, how do you get that? How do you keep those three-way calls down? You just kind of go over the basics, and then this is going to really help them dive in deep. And I remember when Julia sat down and went through a boot camp with me, this is before we were even doing them, weekly or monthly or anything, but I remember some of the things that I learned. I didn't know stuff about my back office then. I didn't know that kind of thing. So that stuck with me. So getting them on that first boot camp and having them kind of get connected is fun too. They're learning, so you're reaching out to those greens. They're learning. And the yellows. The yellows love to learn so they can help. The blues, they're seeing how everybody on. I've started doing like little songs before my Zooms. If y'all are on early, like kind of having fun beforehand, so you're talking to those blues. And it talks about the compensation plan and all that kind of stuff. So you're talking to your reds too. You're kind of reaching everybody. So we love boot camps.
You pretty much covered it all. I do like this quote because to me it came together everything like my mission for a good boot camp. Because I tell people, you're not going to learn every detail of plexus. That's not the point of it, which I am more blue, so this will show. To me, my goal for you to get on my boot camp is just to catch the vision of plexus, to realize you are on an amazing team, and I want to inspire people. I want to help them dream like, oh my goodness, you make that much, not even that you make that much money. Oh, I can win a Lexus. Okay, maybe I can do that. Okay, they're going to learn something. I just want to kind of just push people to do that first step. Because most people on boot camps are fairly new. But like Lindsay says, I have a lot of people that I think get on them every single time I have one. And I kind of love it. But, that's how people are. So as leaders, so if you're listening to this, I encourage you, have your own boot camp if you feel comfortable. If not, use your upline. That's what we're here for. Ask your upline to do one for you and your little team, if you have a little team. If you're brand new and you just had somebody join, just make sure if you don't see one on the calendar, it's your responsibility to get them on a boot camp. So, I might not know, or it's not that I don't know, I might not have one on the calendar, but if anyone in my downline messages me and says, Julia, will you do a boot camp? I would never say no. So make sure you're reaching up and making sure these are available for our team. So that's about everything with our steps. I will say, I like those 7 steps. I think we have to have a system. I think the system has definitely worked. And so please, use that system. I almost think we're doing our team a disservice if we break that system at this point. So we're going to dive into team culture. This is probably one of my favorite things to talk about. Lindsay, do you want to kind of get us started since you brought me this fabulous quote?
I love this because even though we know this, we have to have systems, and John Maxwell has another quote. I don't think I have time to find it right now, but it talks about like you can have all the strategies in the world, and that is great. You need strategies and you need systems, but if your culture is not exciting and bringing everybody in and including everyone, then it's just basically this: culture eats strategy for breakfast. So yeah, I love that quote. Okay, what is team culture? I had to look this up because you probably didn't know that before you got started. What is plexus? What does all this stuff mean? What are these words? Culture, all this kind of stuff. Leader, I don't know, leadership, things like that. Culture is, if you guys can see this, I love this kind of checkbox because it gives the things what is a good team culture. What does it have? And actually, I found this quote on Pinterest, and there's one that says the low performing team culture too. So you can kind of compare to see things that you're doing really great at and see things that you may want to kind of start with.
Sorry.
Okay. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I'm trying to get rid of the green thing so everybody can see that. But no, so we kind of came up with 3 little A's because, we're teachers. And so it's availability, attitude, and atmosphere. And that's kind of the 3 things that's going to create a good team culture. And I love availability. I think that's probably what made me so successful at the beginning because my upline was so available. Anytime I needed them, they picked up the phone. However, I know that we have to have boundaries. I think boundaries are good, but to create a good team culture, it is, you do have to be available for your team. I had a rule for the longest time. It's kind of had to change. I will say my level 1s, my customers definitely, I never let the sun set, or I say that, I never went to sleep without answering my messages, period. I would not go. If someone had sent me a message that day before I fell asleep, even if I got in bed, I made sure I answered it. And I think that just created a culture that, we were here, we were helping each other. Now that might not be something, obviously if you work full time, you're not going to be able to answer within 10 minutes. We understand that. But I do think at the beginning, until you have a team of, say, thousands and thousands of people, that's a good rule of thumb to have. Rob, availability. What does that mean for you?
Well, I think especially in the beginning, they've got, and also that's where that three-way chat works in. If you are, cooking dinner and their customer has a really important question, they can't figure out they can't find in their back office how much Probo 5 is or whatever, and someone is feeding the baby, me, and can't, I can answer real quick. That's where that three-way chat comes in really, really, really handy in the beginning, because you can kind of feed off each other and you can help each other. Now, I will say too, do not wait. Don't hesitate to reach out to your upline, but don't wait for them to answer you. And when you're first signing up, they can show you how to work. And I'm saying you guys because you're teaching your team how to do this. But even as your own, you're working your own business. So don't hesitate to go to your upline, but also don't wait around if they don't get back to you right away. Go and try to find the answer yourself too. Julia always says, I'll match your effort. So if there's something that you can try to find, or they can try to find, and a lot of times if I set my phone down for 20 minutes and they say, oh, never mind, I found it, that's great, because I've taught them kind of how to fish. That quote, you can either give someone a fish or teach them how to. Teaching them how to fish in the beginning is such a big deal. Now, in the very beginning, I feel like I'm extremely probably over available, but again, you've got to put your boundaries, and that's fine. But in the very beginning, they're asking those basic questions. They really just need some help. But utilize that three-way chat. Really utilize that, y'all, because that can help you a lot with that.
And next thing is attitude. And I think this kind of comes natural. Like, you think culture, you think attitude. And I would venture to say most people would say they had a really great attitude. However, I'm on a lot of team pages, and this is probably one that I can always pinpoint. In fact, the other day I messaged somebody and I was like, are you having a bad day? I could tell by the quotes that she chose to put on her team page that she was having some tough days. So just be mindful that you set the tone for your team. Mm-hmm. Everything you post on your team page, everything that you post on your Facebook page sets the culture, brands yourself. And which kind of brings me to your team page. Your team page is the best way to create team culture. I know if you are blessed that a lot of your team is in town, you're going to get to have dinners and breakfasts and trainings all the time. I was never that way. So my team culture really is based off my team page. And that's why I'm very passionate about having a strong team page. Make it fun. Have contests. If you don't have a lot of money, you don't have to give a big prize. Maybe not even give a prize. Let's just say, hey, here's a challenge. Create that excitement and create that urgency. Have posting contests for the weekend. That creates a sense of urgency that people are like, oh, I've got to post today because we're doing this. Have team Zoom calls, just your little team. That's going to create culture. I'll tell you, I have some silvers that have weekly team calls with their 2 or 3 people, y'all. They have fabulous team culture because their team knows that they want it. They're building it together. I always tell my new members, you're at a very sweet spot. You have it where it's not like, come join my team. It's, hey, let's do this together. I think we should all keep that kind of attitude and culture in our team of, hey, we're doing this together. You're not doing it for me. We're not doing it to rank up. We're doing this together, and we're going to get to the top together. We're going to get healthier together. We're going to lose that 20 pounds together. That's our goal. Whatever it is. But just decide. And, for me and Lindsay, we love themes. We're very themey. And again, it's the elementary school teacher in us. But, each month we pick a theme, and that kind of helps our team culture of we kind of know our vision for that month. So if your theme in February is I love plexus, well, it's going to be exciting, and you're going to plaster your team page with hearts and why you love plexus and, why you love gut health, and I'm just using that because it's coming up. Do that for your team. And even if you don't have a team page, have that that message, those messages with your few people, and you can create a great team culture even without a Facebook page, through Messenger, and just the way you interact with your team and your attitude. And just to put this in here, always complain up. Now, I'm not saying like message me and Lindsay with a bunch of complaints, but just always remember, if something didn't get shipped, or you missed that 10% discount because the system wasn't working at 11:59, you know, don't complain down to your downline. Definitely always complain up. You know, at best, just don't complain. But I know sometimes we have like real reasons that we're upset, and we know that it's life. Sometimes we have bad days, guys. I understand. Call me, talk to me about it. You know, call your immediate upline, call your mom, but don't let your team just like, you know, she's kind of draining because she's going through a really hard time in life. You know, it's gonna hurt your team. So anything for attitude?
I think you got that. And then I think you said a lot of things that help with the atmosphere too, though. Because I think about the atmosphere, a lot of us are mamas that are on here. I think, you know, we as mamas kind of control the atmosphere and the life of our home, right? We're kind of like the mama bear. We wouldn't let anything come in that is going to harm our kids. We're going to protect that home. We're going to protect the atmosphere of our team page too, right? Or the team in general. So making sure that the atmosphere of our home, well, it is kind of like our little family, but making sure it's fun, it's life-giving. When I was making my notes, I was thinking, okay, stepping back, what were some of the first things I thought about when I first started class? What was the atmosphere? And I kept thinking about the words that I kept hearing over and over, life-changing. Like I hear those words all the time. So that's exciting. That's vision. That's something like bigger than me. You know, this is life-changing stuff. And it is. The products are life-changing. The opportunity is life-changing. Some other things that I heard of were like the one plexus. Like, it's very much a family atmosphere. Everybody gets along. Like, we really learn from each other. We help each other out. So those are kind of like the atmosphere that you want to kind of create with your team culture and your team pages, if you have one yet. And two, when Joy was talking about attitude, I thought about something. And one of the last trainings I did, I said, I want you guys to write 10 things that you want in a rock star. If you want this would be your dream level 1 to sign up, your rock star person type. You got 10 qualities, and then are you being those things? So this kind of goes to atmosphere and attitude, like really pushing yourself to be those things too. Because what you are is going to trickle down. So just kind of protecting it like it's like you're a mama bear over your home.
Yeah. Well, and y'all, this is so important. I mean, I know we keep saying how big culture is, but I've noticed that a lot of people whose teams might not be growing, or they're saying they're doing the right thing. Sometimes I can look and I'm like, I think it's more you lack team culture. And you know, the great thing is, y'all, this is something you can change. This is something you can control. So that should be exciting to hear. I love things that I can control. We all do. And I truly think this is one that you can say in 2017, you know what? I am going to have the best team culture of any team in my life, and do it. So our last thing is finding the potential in people. And, you know, I love this quote. You know, great leaders find ways to connect with people and help them fulfill their potential. And again, I keep saying this, Lindsay's like the queen of this. But I will say, I'm going to start with my infamous quote from Miss Debbie from corporate, because I think it's so just fitting for finding potential in people. So you have 10 people. We're going to recruit 10 people, level 1s. 2 of those people are going to drop off. They're going to, what we say, white line, disappear. They're going to quit. No matter how amazing of a leader you are, you can be John Maxwell, they're still going to quit. There's nothing that's going to motivate them. Then 2 people, they're going to go all the way to the top. They're going to be diamond no matter if they had an upline or not. They are just those self-motivated workers that really just don't need that push. You know, obviously we're all sitting around saying, man, I wish I could find those 2 people. But really, that leaves you with 6 people. 6. And those 6 people can be influenced. Those 6 people are the people that you need to pour into. Those are the people you need to find their potential. You might see something in them that they don't see in themselves. It's going to be those people that you do those first 7 steps. You know, you send them those articles, you get them on that 3-way chat and they feel connected. It's going to be those 6 people are what's going to make or break your business. What you do with those 6 people. So we're not really looking at the other 4. And I'll tell you, you're thinking, Julia, I had like 2 of those first ones. I got like 10 of them. Well, you know what? Statistically speaking, your 6 people are coming. So that you want to find those people. And I can assure you, most of us have a lot of those 6 people on our team. We just need to find how we can lead them better, how we can see the potential in them, and honestly, just help them become, you know, leaders and influencers that they can be. So how do we find the potential in people? So I kind of added this first one, Lindsay, so I guess I'll go into the first one.
Yeah.
So first thing I kind of thought of, I really thought, you know, really like for real, like how do I find you know, the potential in people? I kind of study their influence environments, like pre-plexus, just natural. So, you know, if I have someone join my team, in fact, I had someone this week join my team, I went to her Facebook account. I looked to see how many friends she had. I looked to see, oh, she's a baseball mom. Oh, she goes to this church. Oh, she went to this college. People, and I've done this with several friends, even good friends. A lot of people, it doesn't come natural. They really think, oh, I'm just, you know, I go to an 8 to 5 job. I come home, I go to church, and that's all my influence is. Or I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I really don't know anyone. Or, you know, but when I sit down with people individually and I say, hey, okay, let's make a list of all the people that you might can share plexus with. I typically can make a much bigger list than they can. And in fact, I still do this with people. Like, I still do this with one of my senior rubies. Like, I'll be like, let me see your phone. And I'll go through their friends list and say, have you messaged her? Have you messaged him? Have you? Because sometimes an outward view sees more. And this is really seeing potential of their network. This isn't really seeing potential inside. So we're going to talk about finding potential inside themselves. And I realize that these are 2 different things. But for me, just realistically, when I think potential, because I'm different from L-Rob, that's kind of what I thought at first, was you really need to work with your people to kind of go through their Franks list, to go through, and honestly, and it's not even so much about numbers and names and people, it's more about just building their confidence that they really can do this, that they really do know people, and it doesn't take a ton of people. But then also we got to really what we're going to really zone into tonight is finding the potential within them. So Lindsay was going to have a list of finding ways to give them praise. Do you have that list tonight?
Yes, I found the list, and
we'll post it after this.
And honestly, I think we'll probably go a little bit deeper into this in the next one too, because you're getting to know them more. But really, it's kind of like going back to the whole like parenting analogy. It is getting to know them. It's getting like my children are very different. Silas needs quality time, like crazy. Anna Maria can just climb in my lap and I give her a hug and she's fine. So you're just getting to know these people. Some of those you may have known before plexus. Some are just acquaintances you're getting to know. So you're getting to know, like, can I send them 6 videos a day? Or are they going to be, I just need to send them 1 every 3 days? Like, what is their limit? It's going to take getting to know them. So the power of, and y'all probably hear me say this quote, like, from Mary Kay, people work harder for praises than raises, right? And they do. Like, we're all adults. We probably don't get like a lot of like, hey, great job all the time. So you are their cheerleader. You're pulling out any little good tidbit that you can give them. But I want you to, I have this list, and I want to, my team, I send it to them, but I want to send you guys this too. So look into these things that are like, you see them, but you may not think, oh yeah. Positiveness, servanthood, growth potential, a hunger for personal growth and development, and follow through. If they say they're going to do something, they do it. That's a huge thing. Loyalty, integrity, any kind of thing of integrity, discipline, gratitude. They have a big picture mindset. Resilient, the ability just to be able to bounce back when things happen. These are things to look for and to give them praise, because those are really big leadership things that you can see that's going to, like, because this is all like big picture stuff too. So you can see these little things in them and praise them. Any little, if they're PV, they get their first customer, things like that, y'all. Any kind of little bit of encouragement to believe in them, because most of us on my team I know had never done this before, and really probably like, can I really do this? Like any little like push to get going, like just kind of fuels you. So find ways to encourage them, find ways to tell them a good job. Post it. If you have a team page, post it publicly or individually. Some people feel more comfortable individually. Make sure you're finding ways to congratulate any kind of effort that they're making.
Yes. And then we're going to go into personality tests and strength tests, and I'm not even going to try. So I really love it, and I will say, Lindsay's so funny. She, every time I would talk to her, I feel like she was like, "Oh, have you taken this personality test?" And I'm like, "No, Lindsay, I have not." But I will say, and y'all probably been hearing her tonight talk about different colors, and I was laughing inside because I'm like, half these people have no idea what you're talking about, Lindsay, these colors. But y'all, I will say it has changed the way I have dealt with my team. I have seen so much growth in not only my personal development, but even the way I interact with my teammates, my children, my husband, people at church, because now I pinpoint people's colors, and it helps me just relate to people more. So I'm just kind of giving her props of she's not crazy. This stuff is really, really great. So dive into that. I have all the links ready to copy and paste to share with y'all, but she's kind of explain a few things.
Well, I mean, really, when you take the quizzes, you're going to be able to see things about yourself. But it's not just finding things about yourself. It's really being able to see, okay, I remember when I first heard about this, I knew exactly, it was probably I don't know when it was, but I knew exactly, okay, Melissa, she is a red. This is why I need to give her information. I don't need to, sugarcoat. I just need to give her this information. She can take it and run with it. I knew someone else on my team, I needed to kind of very gently tell them things and be really sweet and kind of encourage her. Other people, I'm like, okay, let's get an event, let's get a sip and see going, let's get all this stuff. I have a new level one that is, I'm a little bit of everything. It depends on who I can kind of float, but she is all blue, and it's so much fun because she has all these great things planned. And so it's good to recognize the things about them and just kind of pull from there, because it helps you how to lead them. And then there's some other, I sent you bunches of different links of things that you can take for yourself. And they're kind of self-explanatory, so I won't spend a lot of time going into them, but it's fun because you'll start recognizing and how to just relate to people. And like she said, y'all, it's not just plexus. It's how to relate to your family members, how to relate to friends at church, how to relate to people at work. It just is like, oh, this is why you do this way, because everybody is made so neat, and everybody's, I believe, is made fearfully and wonderfully, and God gave them talents and gifts and personality traits, and just made them just really, really neat. So I love learning this about people, because it's like I get to see God's handiwork, and we're all so unique. So get to know yourself, and then it'll help you get to know and how to relate to people on your team.
And yes, I really wish I had this at the beginning. I think as you're gradually adding teammates, and I mean, this is one of those things, like, especially if they're working in the business, hey, do you mind taking this little test? I just want to know, get to know you more. Like, I really think it will help us in our business. So that's kind of why, that is why we added this right here in the training, is, to know the potential, to find that potential, to be that encourager, to be that cheerleader, to be the leader you need to be. You need to know who you're dealing with. You need to know their personality, what makes them tick. So I'm going to put it in the chat right here real quick. That's really all we have. Do you have any anything to end us, Lindsay?
I think, what is the quote? It takes a person 7 times to hear something before they get it. So I hope that, like, you've heard this. I hope that you're like, oh, I've heard this over and over again. I hope that brings you peace, because if it's simple and repeatable, that makes it a really good system. And that's what we wanted. This whole goal is to be able to say, okay, I can do this. This makes sense. I can do these 7 steps. I can have this culture, this atmosphere of my team, and I can find potential in people. I can do those 3 things. So I hope if it was simply like, oh, I've heard this a million times, great. That means that you can, like riding a bike, you can do it.
Right. And guys, and if you're one of our more seasoned leaders, go train this with your teams. Just make sure it's getting duplicated down, because that's really the key to success in this